Christmas Eve, so I thought I'd do a quick video just as it's been a while. I've been a bit busy, obviously with caring for my father and that, and weather's just been too bad to actually do anything really. So I've not been down the plot since my last video from there, which was sort of around the 20th of October, I think, something like that. So it's probably a bit of a state down there. It'll be wet and flooded, but there'll be work to be done. So I'm hoping to go down in the new year and sort of assess any damage or what needs to be done, and then think about, you know, getting beds prepared as and when the weather lets me. Nothing's changed in the garden so much. All I have done is I've put a little bit of bark down on the paths in the garden. But I thought I'd just give you a bit of an update, you know, of how things have been going. But and obviously reflect on this year and what I can do into next year. So I think that, you know, this year I've had a couple of failures, you know, as you do normally, but I've had some successes as well. One being the bell peppers, a great year for the bell peppers, you know, and that little mini polytool sort of thing I'd built, you know, I'll be using that again next year. I've got stacks of peppers in the freezer. Leeks are still in the ground. I would take the camera outside, but it's been like just coming in downpours today, and it's still windy outside a bit, so thought don't want to get the camera wet, so I thought, well, there's nothing much to show really. It's a bit bleak. It's a bit of a mess because I've not been out to do anything, to be honest. Got a few problems with my dad because obviously in the previous video I said I'd had COVID in October, so my dad got COVID, and then we kind of got over that, and then we all got it with a bit of a cold, you know, which was just basically you know, a sort of a head cold, and then you were left with a cough afterwards. So my dad ended up a bit poorly just off the cold, to be honest. He had to go to hospital in A&E. Was sat there for 33 hours, sat in A&E, which was a bit cruel for a 77-year-old man sat in a wheelchair. So it kind of messed him up a bit, that, you know, he couldn't walk about much for days after because just being sat in that position for so long. Because he's not got great core strength anyway, but yeah, it wasn't a great week, that. But other than that, you know, I've been sort of ticking over the band as well, you know, because we had a few gigs on, which we should have had. Our last gig should have been 2 weeks ago. So we did that one, and then last weekend was supposed to be the weekend off, you know, but I got a phone call last weekend to say, can you cover this weekend? So we had to do a gig last night. So I'm going to be a bit tired over Christmas, but I've got to do all the cooking and whatnot over Christmas because I usually do it anyway, you know. So get that done, and then sort of have a bit of a sleep in between Christmas and New Year. But Dad's at the hospital again, right in between, just for a checkup to make sure, you know, there's no more fluid on his lungs and that, to make sure that's all sorted out now. But he's much better, you know. It's he's a bit more stable now, and is a bit more sort of like a bit more independent in some ways. But obviously there's other things, other health issues we've got to look at, which are being tested and sort of treated as we go along, as we know more. But apart from that, you know, I still fully intend on doing the garden, even though the spark has gone. You know, I think it does with a lot of growers this time of year. The spark tends to go because it just is kind of depressing, the weather, you know, and not being able to get out. And because I don't know, it's like the party's finished. You know, you've had the party of the summer with all the growth in the autumn and that, and then everything just goes bleak and it's all wet, and you're thinking, but it's past the shortest day now, so we're on that side leading towards spring. You know, even though it's a while off yet, but we can start thinking of what we need to get done. So usually in January I tend to do the garlic, and sometimes in December I'll sow my giant onions, but I don't think I'm going to sow any giant onions. I'm going to have a year off for the giant onions, I think. And just stick to basic sort of veg, I think. Probably won't even do the long carrots. I don't know. I'll see if I've got any seeds left. But yeah, it's usually garlic I start off with in January. So instead of doing a full video on garlic, I'll just show you briefly now, because you can plant it now. You can put it outside if you want, directly in your beds, provided they're not too wet or anything like that. You know, they won't grow much. They'll just concentrate on putting roots out, because that's what happens this time of year. There isn't the sunlight for them to reach up, but they are putting the roots out. Just because you can't see anything going on top doesn't mean there's nothing going on. And the more roots they get down, then when that spring comes, the sunshine, the tops they're up because you've got a massive root ball to deal with it. And that's how garlic tends to work. So those who've like never done garlic before, you just need a bulb of garlic. Ideally, you can use supermarket ones. 2 varieties. You've got hardneck and softneck. Hardneck are a bit more stronger in flavour, but they don't store as well. These have a stalk right through the middle, and the cloves are around that, the stalk. But I do the softneck variety. I just do one variety now, which is Solent White. So if you've got any, allotment neighbours, they might have some garlic they've grown. Maybe you can get a couple of bulbs off them and start your own from that. Because once you start using your own, it tends to do better because it's kind of got a sort of use to your growing environment. There's many seeds. If you save your own seed, it's from a batch that's been grown in that environment, so it does kind of have a preference for your environment. But yeah, it's simply, so you get a bulb, pull the cloves off, use the biggest ones. The small ones, you'll still get size. I mean, I did do a test last year. I thought, well, I'll weigh some cloves, and yeah, there was a tiny difference. There was some like 5-6 gram cloves, and all the way down to 3. And yeah, the bigger cloves did give a marginal larger bulb, but it was negligible. So the majority of them were 3 grams. Which is kind of like, off memory, is kind of about that sort of size. Where you've got the bigger ones like that. Probably getting up for about 5 gram, that one. So it's pretty simple. I use these 3-inch pots. Compost, it's my own compost. Any compost will do. Just damp, doesn't need to be wet, and just simply get your root side down. So you've got this pointy end that sticks up. Just be careful when you split your clove, you don't damage that end when you split your bulb. And just push it down into the pot until the top's just sort of like below, or it could just be showing, because I do plant them a little bit deeper, and you won't see much happening on that for probably months, a couple of months, but you'll start seeing white bits down here. In about 3 weeks you could give that bulb a little tug and it won't move because it's already got roots, started getting roots out. And just put them outside. You don't want to be doing them inside because they do need 30 days below 10 degrees to actually split to form the actual independent cloves. Otherwise you can just end up with one big ball of garlic. They won't store like that. There is other varieties like elephant garlic, but it's a bit more like a leek, that really. I have done it, but I tend not to bother now. But yeah, apart from that, I've got lettuce. I've been picking this lettuce in the polytunnel. I've got some in the garden. I've picked that already, so that's all really small again. It's very slow, but I mean this stuff. I've got the Grenoble Red, Lola Rossa, and some endive. It's just for little side salads, and then I sent some more compost to try out from JBA Seed Potatoes, or Jamieson's, because they sent me some earlier in the year when I did the compost comparison, and I said the main issue with the peat-free stuff is it dries out really quick. So they've kind of refined the blend a little bit, and yeah, it's much better for water retention. I'm not quite sure what the price is. If you have a look on their websites, that's Jamieson's or JBA Seed Potatoes. And so I thought, well, when I got it, it was quite late in the season, so I've still got some left. But I thought, well, I'll fill some pots up and I'll try out with just some lettuce. So they've hardly been watered, to be honest. So this is winter density. They're a bit leggy because they were crammed together. But I've just been coming out and just picking bunches off. It'd be like 3 or 4 weeks, come out, pick a bunch off like that. I think altogether I've got about 25 of these pots. I've got 5 in the polytunnel, and I've got 5 under my little shelf thing that's outside. I've just uncovered it before to let the rain actually give that a water, because I've never watered it yet. I just, when it rains, I'll pull the cover off and let the rain on it, and that sorts that out. You just got to keep an eye out for any lower leaves. Obviously, with being polytunnel, you will get like overwintering pests like aphids and stuff like that. So you've got to just bear in mind you need to clear all that out before you actually do your main season stuff. Yes, there's still things to get on with. But yeah, going forward for next year for me, I'll still be doing pretty much the same. I've just got to obviously work my timing out a bit better, because obviously I've got duties at home, caring for my dad and that full time. And obviously my own issues with chronic fatigue syndrome, and obviously hospital appointments and things like that for both me and my dad. But it's just slotting it in and then trying to make the most of the time that I can get, to actually get the job done. But it'll be pretty much the same, I'll end up like do the majority of the planting will be April, but majority of the sowing for me, I always get to Valentine's Day, and that's the signal that it's time to bring a bag of compost in the house and get it warmed up, and then so sort of that week onwards. That's all the cabbages and some lettuce, because that's going to be planting out in April. The plot, I can plant it out in the garden end of March, but just depends. The lettuce I do in the garden, all the brassicas go up. I find if I miss that date, I can't get it sown again until a bit later, but it's a bit short, the second half of the season. So I find it's sowing in February, plant that in April, sow the next batch in end of May, plant that out July, and then harvest that September, October. And then my plot's out of action. From pretty much end of October through till, start of April, my plot is completely out of action. It's just not worth growing anything because it's just too wet. But don't know what trials I'll be doing next year, because I've obviously done compost trials this year. For a big thank you to all the companies that give me stuff to try out. Especially Scriven's Landscape Supplies. I mean, they've given me quite a lot this year. Jack, he first said about the compost and topsoil compost blend, so I tried them and the potato thing. And I've used them for topping up beds, and yeah, it's fine. It's fine. All the links for anything I've sort of used will be in the description, the video below, or any links for anything really that I've anything to do with will all be in the description below. And obviously, he's supplied me some wood chip and bark. As I say, I've put some wood chip on one of the beds, or a couple of the beds in the garden, which you might have seen in an earlier video. But I have barked all the pathways here. I'll probably use some bark at the fruit cage at the allotment, maybe. But I can't justify using it on the paths down there. It's too labour intensive. But the fruit cage, maybe, yeah. Put some membrane down and a bit of bark over the top of it. So I've put it right in the soil. The moles will keep coming up, and eventually it'll end up with soil on top again and loads of weeds, so it's just working that out, because I do get a lot of moles and voles on my plot. But yeah, so I need to go down to the plot, and then I need to assess it. Obviously I need to chop all my asparagus down, cover my potato bed over, because I think I had some field beans in there, so I'm hoping the frost has killed them off, and see if there's any sort of immediate repairs that need sort of doing. But I mean, it's like the polytunnel needs some work doing on it next year, because this whole side was flapping about the other week, and so I've just put a piece of wood and pinned it against it with a couple of big tubs just to stop it from flapping about. But so it's just having the funds to deal with it all. So I've got some timber work to do next year. I mean, this cover's been on here for 14 years. I mean, it's still fine. I just need to just strengthen it up to try and maximise what I can get out of it until I can afford to do anything about it, because changing a cover on a polytunnel is quite a big deal. I would like a slightly bigger polytunnel. I can't really put anything wider, but a bit longer would be helpful, but this isn't big. It's only 10 foot by 6 foot, or 2 metre by 3 metre. It was only a cheap one originally. One was the green coated thing on that, but it's got 1 inch frame on it. So all I did when the old cover went knackered on it, I just kind of converted it into more of a mini commercial tunnel. Added the timber to it and sturdied it up, put the doors at the end, because the old ones used to have the zip doors. Them covers, they don't last 5 minutes, them greenhouses. They're alright for something like when you've got like a little mini greenhouse inside a greenhouse, they're okay for that, because it's a bit like a double glaze. It does add an element of frost protection. So yeah, that's what's been going on really. So as I say, going forward, any suggestions for anything you'd like me to sort of do in the channel or alter, or something you'd like to see me do, yeah, I'll have a look at it, and if I can do it, I will. And a big thank you to all my subscribers for following me, and all the new subscribers. It's always nice to get new subscribers and hear from the old subscribers. I do read the comments. I know I've got a load of comments to actually respond to, but I just need to sit down for a few hours. The problem being is, when I sit down and get comfortable, I tend to get really sleepy because of the chronic fatigue. So I have to sort of like pick a moment when I can do it, and kind of sit in an uncomfortable manner so I don't fall asleep. But I read them all, because as they come through, I read them. And there's a few been wondering where I am, but yeah, everything's fine. Nothing's changed. Such, I'm still here. But like I say, I'm going through a bit of a change. Obviously I'm fatigue and that, I need to sort things out. But it's great that I still get the comments, still get the followers, and massive thank you to everyone for supporting the channel, and donating. That it's much appreciated, because it all goes back into the channel. Every penny that's donated. Because I have a PayPal link in my description that you can donate anything through that. Regarding the sweet pea seeds, all I've done so far is I've collected the pods. They're in a bag, so I don't know how, because they weren't that great this year. I might do some seed giveaways. I don't know yet. I'll sort that out in the new year. But if I do, it'll probably have to be where you'd have to send me something in PayPal to cover postage and packaging, because in previous whatever years, 5 years, whatever I've given away, I could afford it, but it's the price of stamps and the little jiffy envelopes. I just can't stretch to it at the minute. And this is the thing. The government are only giving me 70 quid a week to look after my dad. And I can't get anything for my chronic fatigue because I'm well enough to look after my dad. So I'm sort of stuck in a situation where I have no money, really, and that's just the way, but at the end of the day, he's my dad, and I've got to look after him. Simple as that, and I get, some help off family as well. When I go and do a gig, my sisters, they come round, take it in turns, and they come and keep an eye on him while I do a gig, but apart from that, it's kind of, I've got to shuffle it between me and my partner. If I go to the plot, my partner's got to be here, and it's not my partner's sort of duty to have to do. So it's really, it's me and my sisters. They've got to deal with it. Because the minute it's put on someone else, it's a big ask. And it's not fair. So yeah, that's all to incorporate, and obviously, fingers crossed, there's no more issues where he's up in A&E, because I think that's enough to put anyone off going up to A&E. That being sat there 30 odd hours. 33 hours straight, just sat in a wheelchair, just coming around to take his blood pressure, had a scan, had an x-ray, sent home with 5 days of antibiotics. Crazy. And the state of him when he come home, it was just worse. Couldn't stand up, couldn't move, just because he'd been sat in the wheelchair for so long. I thought, yeah, I thought for a bit, I thought, I'm going to lose him here, but thankfully, he's with us, and improving. So we just have to enjoy the time we have, really, and every day is an extra special one, really. So it's great, because we've got family coming over for Christmas as well. We've got Christmas and New Year, but yeah, it's just one of the things I have to shuffle everything into a bit of an order and try and plan it week by week what I can do. But I fully intend carrying on doing, I might even video a bit of fishing next year if I get a chance to go, because that's kind of doctor's orders have said, like, go on and rest, you need to do something for you, and delegate jobs out. There's only so much you can delegate out, because ultimately it does fall on me, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to the new year, get this one out of the way this year, because it's not been the best of years, well, health-wise and gardening. It's been a tough year with the wet weather later on, but next year, sort of like a fresh start, try something, a few things different, and you never know, sometimes it's a big success, but it's always great to, this time of year, you've got time to think and reflect on what mistakes you might have made and the way forward, and and then the new year begins, and you just keep looking out the window, and when that weather arrives, it's time to get going. It'll soon be here. You're halfway there now. From when it was warm, you're halfway there now. So I want to wish you all a great Merry Christmas and have a fantastic New Year, and I will see you again possibly in January. I might do something, a bit up to the plot. Other than that, it'll be February. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Take care. See you now. Bye-bye.